What's up guys, and welcome to part 2 of our Super Mario Maker Q&A. Now if you missed part 1, don't worry, there's a link to it in the description below. We covered a ton of questions there, so I recommend checking it out. But there were still a ton left, in fact even more this time than there were last time. So let's stop wasting time and get right into it. So Devin asks, how do you get a skeleton fish to appear, since it doesn't appear on any of the actual menus? Easy, all you have to do is when you're underwater, just drag a dry bones into the water and he'll turn into a fish when you actually enter the level itself. For whatever reason, he won't turn into a fish on the level creator screen, only when you're actually playing the level. Midnight Phoenix asks, if you put two different pipes in the main world, is it possible to create two different subworlds? Unfortunately, it's not. Every pipe will always go to the same subworld or back to the main world. Now, I say unfortunately very loosely, because I think there's, just having one offers a ton of opportunities, and you can even set it up in such a way that seems like it actually is multiple different subworlds, even though it is always the same one. Devin asks, what happens if you shake dry bones? Nothing. Nothing happens at all. Mr. YTP asks, what's the difference between bullet bill cannons and cannons from airships? Actually a pretty big difference. So, bullet bill cannons can launch pretty much anything you put into it. I mean, granted, there are some restrictions, but you can put a lot of objects inside the bullet bill, and it'll launch whatever it is. In addition, they also fire horizontally. The main difference of the cannons is that they fire diagonally, and they can only ever fire cannonballs. You can't change what they fire. So there you go. And I think the same person asked, or maybe I screwed up here, but I think Mr. YTP also asks, can you make conveyor belts that move faster or slower? And you can. By shaking the conveyor belt, you can change its speed. So normally it's at a slower speed, but if you shake it, it actually goes faster. Oh, if you want to bring them to a halt too, if you hit a P switch, it'll stop all the conveyor belts in the level. Of course, it depends on how you set up the level, but there you go. Next up, Dragon RPG asks a pretty long question. He says he noticed that during the sound effects video that we posted, a couple of the so-called sound effects were actually the boss themes and bonus themes from Super Mario World. And he's wondering if those play indefinitely once they're triggered, or they stop after a few seconds. To answer your question, yeah, they actually do stop after a few seconds normally. But there are ways to keep it playing indefinitely. So if you watch, or if you've seen our shoot 'em up level that we just posted, you can see that we managed to make the music play, the boss theme play, for the entire boss duration. And the way we did that is we dropped in a whole bunch of sound effects during that segment. So if I were to show you the screen, the editing screen, you would see like maybe 100 icons on that screen, just making Mario re-trigger it constantly. So yeah, that's basically what you have to do, is you basically have to have Mario re-trigger to keep it playing as long as you want. Now he goes on to ask, since the music shown off in the Mario World theme was actually of Mario World songs, do those songs or sound effects change depending on the theme? And in that specific sound effect case, they do. So the music actually does change depending on the theme, which is a nice touch. N Rule asks, if you place a costume or power-up on Mario directly, will he start with that costume when you actually start the level outside of edit mode? Unfortunately, he does not. It only works in edit mode. Whenever you start the level itself, he always defaults to normal Mario. Zach Zins asks, when you change the time to get all the stuff, can you set the time back to normal time and still have everything? You can. I made sure I set the time back to its normal time after I fast-forwarded to get everything quickly, and it works just fine. Shadow Dragon asks, where is Tataka's song? Great question, we're looking for it, but I'm not even sure if he's actually involved with the game, so maybe it's not in there at all. Mr. CM Bricks asks, what amiibo do you have to scan if you want to become a Goomba? So that's a good question. As far as we know, there actually is no corresponding amiibo for that costume. Instead, it's actually one of several costumes in the game you can unlock that don't rely on an amiibo. So there's a few others in addition to that, and I'll probably show off some of them coming up, but we can't show them all off yet at this point. Robin asks, are you able to carry P-switches in game styles besides Mario World? And yeah, that's the question. Yeah, you can carry them in everything but the original Mario Brothers, so New Super Mario Bros. U and Super Mario Bros. 3 as well. Fixed Pixels asks, are you able to place decorations like trees and fences wherever you want, or does the game place it for you? So, as you may have noticed, when you're creating levels, sometimes objects appear randomly on the ground pieces, which is actually kind of cool. So like in the Haunted House themes, it's a clock, or in the castle it's a Bowser statue, and it can be different things too, so it's not always just those. In the normal above ground theme, it's often flowers. So if you want, so you can't really choose where you place them, at least not at first, because they are random. But if a piece randomly appears that you want, all you have to do is drag the ground piece wherever you want, and it will be retained. So you can move it like that clock or Bowser statue wherever you want after it's been randomly produced. CS Dude 1020 asks, When you're in a subworld, can you change the world theme without changing the main world theme? Yeah, you can. So if you want, you can make the main world above ground and make the subworld underground. It's you know, kind of like what the main Mario games do. So it's pretty handy. Pocket Guys Minds asks, is Yoshi the only thing that changes between game skins? As in how it changes from Yoshi to the Goomba shoe? No, it's not. There are a few other examples. The main one that's coming to mind right now is the flying power-up, you know, which is of course the raccoon suit in Mario 3, the cape in Mario World, and the propeller suit in New Super Mario Bros. U, and of course if you go back to the original Super Mario Bros. Theme, it's the Mystery Mushroom instead. I think that might be the only other exact example, but there are many other objects, or several other objects at least, that do have different behavior depending on which game they're in. Alright, Mega Blitzer 425 asks, will the game lag if too much items, enemies, or platforms are on the screen? Not from what I've seen. Again, I haven't pushed it fully to all its limits, but I have done some pretty crazy levels, and as far as I can tell, I've not noticed any lag at all. So it does seem to run really smoothly. Red Rooster 1012 asks, can you ground pound in the original Super Mario Bros. Mode? No, you can't. For the most part, every game does behave mostly like the original games do, for the most part. And so no, you cannot ground pound in the original game. Coghog asks, does Yoshi work differently between Super Mario World and New Super Mario Bros. U? As far as I can tell, he doesn't. He works just like he did in the original games. Or rather, yeah, I should take that back. He does work differently in that he works just like in the original games. So in New Super Mario Bros. U, he can flutter jump, whereas in Mario World, he cannot. Margio300X asks, so on what day do you unlock the Mario 3 thing? So I actually kept track of pretty much every unlockable I unlocked here. Now, I didn't document day 2, so I forget which one that was. But on day 3, I unlocked the underwater set, which included the underwater theme. On day 4, I unlocked the castle set, which included the castle theme, and of course Bowser as well, and other, you know, castle-like enemies. And that goes for the underwater set as well, and all these themes. Day 5 was the Super Mario Bros. 3 game theme. So yeah, you don't actually start off with Mario 3 from the start, you actually have to unlock it. As well as the airship set as well. And then on that same day, I don't know if it was tied into it, but it came a little bit later, I unlocked the timer and auto scroll settings as well. On the next day, being day 6, I unlocked the Super Mario World style, game style, and the Ghost House set. On day 7, I unlocked sound effects. On day 8, I unlocked the tracks, the tracks you can put objects on that they move around on. So they included the saw blades as well. And finally, on the final day, I rested. No, on the final day, I got sub areas, being I think that gave me the doors and of course the warp pipes as well. Oh, so there you go. That's all the unlockables. I forgot day 2, but you can probably figure out from what I missed. Ben asks, what controller do you use and find best when playing levels? So I typically have been using the gamepad because I've been doing a ton of level editing, and that's the only controller you can actually use for level editing. So it's by far the most convenient to hop in and out of the editor with. But if I'm actually just playing for fun, like playing through the 100 Mario mode, I actually like playing with the Wii mode. I find it more comfortable, and yeah, I like it better. It's got better weight. I actually might maybe I should switch to the classic controller because the D-pad is better on that. But so far, Wii Remote's working out pretty well for me. Poever asks, Dipper723 asks, for Mario 1 and 3, do they control as they should? With Y being dash and B being jump, or are they how like they are in Virtual Console, with B being dash and A being jump? So they do control like they did originally, where Y is run and B is jump, if I'm remembering correctly. Let me look real quick. Yeah, so Y is run and B is jump. But you can switch that for any of the games. All the games control that by default, by the way. But you can switch that in the options to the other mode that you mentioned, the Virtual Console. Set my gamepad back down. Let's see here. Poever asks, does the frame rate on the skins of Mario 1, 3, and World feel jarring to you when the originals ran at 30 frames per second? So, it doesn't feel jarring at all, and I think that actually might be because, I might be mistaken on this, I think the original games ran at 60 frames per second too. 30 frames per second really is more of a modern thing, actually, if I understand correctly. So, anyways, even if it's not, it doesn't really stand out to me. The game really, it really does feel like, in many ways, a sequel to those original games, if you're playing levels based on them. So, yeah, it hasn't been a problem. CrazyCat829X asks, are there any objects missing from the game that you would like to see included in future DLC packs? such as not having mini Goombas available. There are actually. I won't spend too much time on this because there is a fair amount of stuff I would love to see in the game. But for one, slopes would be a huge inclusion. I would love to see slopes like in Mario 3 and Mario World. Enemy-wise, I would love to see the Chargin' Chucks. They're a very memorable part of Mario World, and it's kind of surprising they're not here, given that Mario World is here. There are other things too. I'd like it if Yoshi could have his abilities from Mario World. I could go on, but I am quite happy with the set that is here, so I'm just feeling a little bit, I don't want to get too greedy here, but there are some stuff I would like to see them add down the line if they do decide to. LOL Roll asks, can there be more than one mystery mushroom in a level? There can. You can basically add as many as you want, as far as I know. I mean, if there's a limit, it's pretty high up there. I think I mentioned before, there's one level online, which I think there's video of even, which isn't supposed to be, but there's one level out there where there's like a mystery mushroom for basically every amiibo currently out there. So that's like, what, 50 mushrooms or so? So yeah, as far as I know, there's really no limit. Andrew Pitton asks, Majora's Mask 9 asks, is there any way to write messages in the level similar to the message boxes in Mario World? Not really. I mean, that would be a cool addition, but that would probably be a nightmare for online. I'm just trying to keep it so no one writes anything profane. I was gonna say profound. That actually would be a good thing if someone wrote something profound. You can write messages with coins, of course. It's not very elegant because those are huge letters. And it's tough to read, but you can do that. What else you can kind of do is you can play your own level, and if you beat it, or you can make a comment on the level by like beating it or dying in it. You can make a comment in the level, and that comment will appear in the level itself. So that is one way to get messages into your level that other people will see. I'm just not sure that's a guaranteed way of seeing it, because those may be overwritten at some point. I'm guessing if other people play it. But there you go, that is one way of doing it. Andrew Pitton asks, Andre, based on your experience, do you think this game has the potential to form an expansive community of excellent level designers in a plethora of great stages? Absolutely. I've been having a blast already, and already you can kind of see, even though not many people have the game, only a few reviewers around the world, you can already see some people are, getting a bit of a following already. So yeah, it's really cool, and the game does a really good job of allowing you to follow creators. So if you see someone make a level you really like, you can follow him and see when he posts more stages, or her I should say, when they post more stages in the future. So yeah, it's really cool, and of course you guys should make sure to follow me when the game comes out. I'll be doing a ton of stages, I'm sure. I'm not sure all of them would be great, but I'll be playing around with it. And I'll be posting videos with our ID codes of those stages later on too. Rapid Leaf asks, do you think the Mario Brothers franchise will continue with Super Mario Maker giving practically an infinite amount of levels to play, and where do you think Mario will take the Mario Brothers IP from here? That's a really good question. I don't think this is at all a problem for the Mario franchise, but what I do think is good about this is it will force them to innovate more for the next game. Though granted, every Mario game already has some elements that you can't reproduce in Mario Maker, so that's one thing right off the bat that they can't do. But with that said, you can make levels of play very similarly, or seem very similar. So I really do think this will force them to switch it up a little bit. Maybe finally get away from New Super Mario Brothers and move on to something else. But yeah, they can come up with new mechanics, even more wild enemies. Really, the sky's the limit for them. So I don't think this is a problem. If anything, it will force them just to work harder for the next Mario game, which is really a good thing. Tim asks, can Yoshi ride Yoshi? So there's two ways to take that question. So you can actually have two Yoshis at a time in a level, neither of which can ride each other, so no. But beyond that, you can also spawn a Yoshi amiibo as well, or a Yoshi Mii costume, which we've seen. And unfortunately, you can only use them in the new Super Mario Brothers, or I'm sorry, in the original Super Mario Brothers theme, which means there's no way to ride Yoshi, because Yoshi doesn't appear in that theme. You can, however, ride in a Goomba shoe. Alright, Casey Clark asks, I noticed in your tiles in all four themes that the Goomba shoe gets replaced with the Yoshi egg. Does this mean there's no way to use a shoe in Super Mario World or New Super Mario Bros. Theme? Yeah, that's exactly what it means. You can use a shoe in the original Mario theme and Mario 3, whereas in Mario World and New Super Mario Bros. U, it's replaced with Yoshi. Casey Clark asks, how do water and lava stages work in the game? Can you have water levels that aren't actually underwater? No, you can't. So water and lava are both tied to their respective themes, being underwater and the castle theme. So yeah, there's no way to add water to a level currently. without actually making a water level. And the entire thing will have to be underwater, unless of course it's set up a sub-area which can be above water if you want. And same thing with the lava. In the castle theme, the lava will always be along the bottom of the stage. There's no way to change that. You can of course add lava-based elements like fireballs or the fire bars even, but yeah, you can't change the lava itself. Smash Highlights asks, let's see. Does the 10 Mario Challenge feel weak compared to a regular 2D Mario adventure? I was hoping for story mode stages similar to those played at the Nintendo World Championships. Yeah, I mean, compared to the original Mario game, they are a bit. There's really no, like, sense of cohesion there. They all just kind of feel kind of random. With that said, they are a lot of fun. You know, it is fun playing through individual stages. But yeah, it doesn't have the cohesion a full Mario game would. And that is something else, you know, a full Mario adventure would have going forward, is there tends to be some sense of progression, if only because there's a world map tying it together. But even aside from that, you know, the worlds are tied together thematically, which is something you don't quite get here. So yeah, 10 Mario Challenge isn't quite a replacement for a Mario game. Lemon Ludluki asks, is a question block the only invisible object you can make, or can you make invisible rails and music blocks as well? Music blocks. Yeah, invisible blocks are the only thing, as far as I know, they can make invisible. I tried playing around with other things, and yeah, it seems like invisible blocks are all that's there. Which is probably a good thing, because invisible blocks are pretty annoying by themselves. I can only imagine how annoying it would be if you're running into invisible Goombas all the time. Next up, Void Pixel is wondering if you can change Yoshi's color. No you can't, you're stuck with green. Supa Koopa 4494 asks, can you remove the hand? Kind of. As I showed before, you can cycle between the hands, and one of them is actually a really small cursor, so that's the best you can do. But keep in mind, the hand only appears on the TV, you never actually see it on the gamepad itself. So even though it may look distracting, maybe in our videos, it's something you won't actually ever see really playing the game yourself. Xradic asks, can you make a block that you can go through so you can hide things in secret walls, like you could in New Super Mario Bros. U? Unfortunately you can't. There's no way to like go behind the scenery in that way. Fancy Oreo asks, can you create worlds made up of multiple levels and share them with others as well as download other worlds? Not officially. You can only upload a single level at a time. You can't directly tie them into each other. What you could do is, of course, you know, name them like Part 1, Part 2, Part 3, Part 4, and have people manually seek them out themselves and play them in order, but that's really the best they can do. Or best you can do. Davio asks, if you place a Lakitu or Magic Koopa, do they continuously respawn like the original games? Also, can a Hammer Brother be changed to a Fire Brother or Boomerang Brother? And one more question, can I see other enemies behave with wings such as Swamps, Monty Moles, and Rocky Wrenches, please? Okay, so Lakitus and Magic Koopas do not respawn. Once you take them out, they're gone for good. Magic Koopas, though, do like to warp around like they did before, so you can set up a bunch of them if you want and give the impression of there being more than one, or, you know, of them responding. Can a Hammer Brother be changed? Unfortunately, no. He is stuck as a Hammer Brother. Actually, it can be changed in one way. If you put a mushroom on him, he'll be turned into a Sludge Brother, and he actually will shake the ground when he hits it, which is cool. Unfortunately, no Fire Brother or Boomerang Brothers. I think I answered that before, but whatever. As for showing you other enemies with wings, I showed some of them off in our previous videos. I'll try and do that more in the future, so stay tuned. Andy NJ373 asks, do power-ups work with Amiibo costumes? They do not. They basically are a power-up themselves, so once you grab another one, they are replaced with that power-up. Adrian asks, can you move Mario via D-pad, or does only analog controls work? Yep, you can use either D-pad or control stick. It's up to you. Alexander asks, do the blue and yellow Koopas make a reappearance in Super Mario World? Also, does Yoshi spit fire when spitting out a red shell? So I think it means Koopa Troopas, and they do not. There are, you know, green and red ones, but that's it. And Yoshi, unfortunately, does not spit a red fireball when he spits out a red shell. I actually tested that on the stream, which you may or may not have seen. Roy Boy asks, can you create a custom path for moving platforms? Yes and no. For just the moving platforms by themselves, no. I mean, you can change what direction they move in and what speed they move at by shaking them. That's it. But of course, you can put them on a track or anything, or most anything onto a track, and they will follow the track you set up. So in that sense, yeah, you can give them whatever path you want. Mitsu Hyde, the Vagrant, asks, can you design a world map that can traverse like other Mario games? Unfortunately, you cannot. The closest thing they have is the like 10 level or 10 Mario mode and 100 Mario mode, in which case there is a pseudo world map, but that's the closest you're going to get. Martin Lessman asks, How long does it take to download the maps online? It is instant. I was so happy to see this. I mean, it makes sense because the levels are probably only a few kilobytes, but it is basically instant. So if it's on your menu, if you can select it, you can play it instantly. So yeah, and they've actually improved the loading time a lot since Comic-Con, or since, you know, E3, since we've seen it before. So it's actually a lot faster than it used to be. I think someone else asked that coming up, but whatever, moving on. Let's see. Eros asks, how long does it take to post a level online? Similarly, it's pretty much instant. You can upload it. The longest part is just typing in a name for it. Beyond that, it's really quick. I mean, really, the interface for uploading and downloading is super simple and super quick. Toadstar100 asks, how often do flies show up? Being the flies from that start the Gnat Attack mode I showed off earlier that came from Mario Paint. They appear, I think, only when you interact with blocks, as far as I can tell. Even then, it seems to be random in the level editor. There may be more to it than that, but I haven't quite figured it out yet. It may just be random. And is that minigame, and he also asks, and is that Gnat Attack minigame optional, or does swatting the fly mean you have to play the game? It is optional. You can just ignore the flies and they'll fly away. Or even if you do start the game by swatting all three, you can quit the game at any time just by pressing start. Lusanio asks, I know I'm butchering a lot of these names, sorry guys, I don't have much time. He asks, do you have to unlock the themes, Super Mario Bros. 3, and the other places? Actually, I answered that earlier, so yeah, you do have to unlock every game style except for the original Super Mario Bros. And New Super Mario Bros. U. Okay, so maybe not every game style, half of the game styles. Yeah, there you go. Mega Mewtwo asks, what enemies can ride on Lakitu's cloud? As far as I know, it's basically everything. There are some limits. You can't put like a saw blade on the cloud, but I think like every sentient enemy for the most part that I can think of can ride in the cloud, which is pretty cool. Dylan asks, are the loading times any faster since Comic-Con? Yeah, so there's a question. Yeah, it is. It's way faster now. You can see in our videos, I haven't edited down the loading at all. You can compare that to our Comic-Con videos or our E3 videos, which are a lot slower. Video Game Upriser asks, are you limited to how many warp pipes you can actually warp per level? I think I answered that yesterday, but to make sure, I added like 6 or 7 to a level, and I still haven't reached my limit. So I'm sure there is some limit, I don't know what it is, but it's probably unlikely you'll come across it. Unless you're really trying to push the limit. Pizza Pie asks, can Bowser activate P-switches? So I specifically checked for this question, he can. So that should create some potentially interesting level designs if Bowser can reach a P-switch that you can't. Chaotic Panda asks, how do you add fish bones to your level? Okay, I already answered that earlier. Kirby Amiibo asks, what happens if you shake a Yoshi egg? Nothing. Nothing happens at all. Roblo asks, in the 10 Mario Challenge, how many times do you have to play it until you save Peach? So, if I remember correctly, I don't think you actually save Peach at all in the 10 Mario Challenge. You do save her, however, in the 100 Mario Challenge. So, I don't think you'll actually beat her or save her at all in 10 Mario Challenge. But I played through every stage it had in it, and nothing happened, so... Next up, Rog the Frog asks, how do you taunt with the Mario costumes on? You just hold up on the control pad, so whatever costume you're wearing, it'll do a little pose, and I think almost always a sound effect too. Next up, Spoofopoulos asks, can you put Wings, the Clown Copter, and Lakitu's Cloud together in a certain order? And if so, does it change your motion in any way? So no, none of those three are compatible with the other. So, yeah, there you go. Slimmy Fishy asks, if you play Super Mario Bros. 3 Bowser on top of some bricks, will he act like he did in the game and ground pound through the bricks? So as I mentioned yesterday, Bowser's behavior does change depending on the game, and even furthermore depending on, I think, if you give him wings. And in this case, he actually will behave like his Mario 3 incarnation if you play in Mario 3. So you can set it up pretty much like the original game where he will stomp through those bricks, which is really cool. Now I should clarify, he won't always act exactly like he did in the original games. He does act differently in some cases, like in Mario World, in which case he can use Bowser Jr. to fill in for him instead, in which case he does exhibit some similar mechanics like he did in Mario World. Raleigh Predator asks, are you able to download maps and play them offline? Yeah, you can download anything you play online, you can download for yourself and play around with it as much as you want. I think as I mentioned before, you just can't re-upload it yourself. XX Ninja 4 Eagle X asks, can you make one-way pipes? Basically, can you make it where when you enter a pipe, you can't re-enter through the other end of that pipe? Unfortunately, you can't. They are always 2 ways, as far as I know. But you can set it up in such a way that they are 1-way pipes effectively. Such as by putting down that 1-way piece. I forget what it's called. It's got like the little roller thing on it. So you can put that next to a pipe and basically make it so it is a 1-way pipe. So although it's not officially supported, there is a way to do it. And finally, Darren Shields asks, can you carry springs and P-switches through doors and pipes? You sure can. Of course, you have to be able to carry it in the original theme by itself, so you can't do it in the original Mario Brothers. But for the other themes, it's fair games. You can carry P-switches and springs with you, which is really cool. Phew! Oh god, that was a lot of questions. Alright, I think I'm finally done answering them. So, of course, thanks for watching, guys. I really appreciate it. Of course, if you liked our content, make sure to like and follow us on Facebook and Twitter at GameXplain. You can find links to them in the description below. We post all kinds of stuff there. And of course, stay tuned to GameXplain for more on Super Mario Maker. Maybe another Q&A video, probably not. But if you guys have enough questions, maybe I'll make a 3rd one. Alright guys, there you have it. I'm out. See ya. Bye.